past spring, just after Easter, after we had experienced so many deaths of members and friends of this faith community, I preached a sermon series on loss and grief and finding hope once more. Since that time, we have experienced 8 more deaths of Fort Street members and even more of others related to Fort Street in some way. Several of our members are dealing with significant decline in health at this time. People we love have moved to other places, Mackinac Island, East Hampton, Massachusetts. Soon our wonderful organist will retire and move on to new life ventures in another part of our country. The living arrangements of many of our members have changed or are changing, along with all of the disruption that this brings and the losses that come with changes like this. I've heard it said that learning to live is learning to grieve, to deal well with the losses of life. As I look back from this All Saints Sunday, we seem to have had more than our share of losses this past year. So many losses actually have taken a toll on me, and I think have taken a toll on our 4th Street community. It kind of takes your energy down for a while. Long ago, in another time and place, a community was struggling with grief and loss. The land in which they lived was about to fall into exile. Devastation was all around. They were waiting for a violent attack that was about to come their way. Probably about 600 BCE, the people of Judah wait and watch for the collapse of their nation coming quickly now. Everything the people needed for survival hangs in the balance. Fig trees, grapevines, olive branches, crops, livestock, everything needed for life in this time and place. All that seemed certain and sure, everything the people depended upon is gone. Habakkuk takes stock of what lay before him. Dearth, desolation, despair, stark nothingness, Judah as a nation about to come to an end, feeling the full force of the loss, understanding the terrible and far-reaching consequences, the very real threat to life as they know it, the prophet is fully aware of the dire situation. This prophet senses deeply the abandonment by God felt throughout the land. The prophet is not naive. He is not insensitive. Habakkuk gets it all deep in his soul, the pain, the destruction, fear and anxiety, loss and grief, devastation and danger. In chapter 1, we hear Habakkuk's voice cry out, "How long, O God, how long? Everything is falling apart. You don't listen when we cry to you. You don't do anything to help. What do you have to say about this, God? Why have you forsaken us? Why have you left us alone?" That's the beginning of chapter 1. Now here we are at the end of the book, the last verses of chapter 3. And what is this guy saying? Though the fig tree does not blossom, and no fruit is on the vines, though the produce of the olive fails and the fields yield no food, though the flock is cut off from the fold and there is no herd in the stall, yet I will rejoice in God. I will exalt in the God of my salvation. God, the Holy One, is my strength and makes my feet like the feet of a deer, makes me tread on high places. In the midst of their social upheaval, their devastating losses disrupting everyone in the community, wreaking havoc on families, taking a huge personal toll for everyone in sight, people immersed in loss and grief, feeling abandoned by God, Habakkuk says, rejoice. Sounds a little diluted, doesn't it? Actually, it sounds a lot diluted, like words from a crazy person totally out of touch with reality. What's with Habakkuk? Is life pretty good for him, and he just doesn't realize the devastation others are experiencing? Is he just spouting religious platitudes and pompous cliches, leaving the rest of us at a loss, thinking all of a sudden we've lost faith? somehow we really are missing the mark? To be expected, honestly, to praise God, to rejoice in the midst of this despair? I mean, really? Habakkuk must be even nuttier than God's prophet Ezekiel, but at least Ezekiel is entertaining. Habakkuk's words are just depressing. In spite of all evidence to the contrary, in the midst of these huge disruptions of life, Habakkuk proclaims hope. Hope in God as a source of security and well-being for us. We hear Habakkuk's confident affirmation: the holy can work through all trouble, taking us through any circumstances of life to a new place of peace, to a confident assurance in God's presence with us, to a renewed sense of, it is well with my soul. Remember that old hymn, Standing on the Promises? Partly, we go on living through the really tough times of life because we do stand on promises. Sacred promises made to us, promises that will hold even when it doesn't seem so in the moment. Behold, I am with you always, even to the end of the world. The one who began a good work in us will complete what God has started. God is in the midst of all things. No matter how sad, no matter how difficult, no matter how evil, no matter how bad, God is in the midst of all things, working to bring out some good, somehow, somewhere. Neither life, nor death, nor anything in all creation can separate us from the love of God. On this All Saints Sunday, we give thanks. Thanks for the holy presence with us and for the ones who we have loved, always with us. God's presence always with us, always with them. Partly we go on living through the really tough times because we stand on the shoulders of saints who have gone before us. Maybe if we replace the word rejoice, Habakkuk's word rejoice, with giving thanks, Habakkuk might possibly make a little more sense to us. As we name the names of the ones we have lost, the ones who have left this life and left us this past year, we pause. We give thanks for all that each one has meant to us, for how every one of these saints has blessed us, for every way each one has enriched Fort Street's life or the lives of some of our members, staff, or friends. We give thanks for all the ways all of these saints have touched the lives around them, adding something to our world which we would have missed if these people had not been in our midst. On this All Saints Sunday, we look back and remember everything we've received from those who have left us. We give thanks for what these saints have given to us. We give thanks for those who have gone before us, on whose shoulders we stand, stretching for something still beyond our reach, stretching forward into the future, inspired, challenged, encouraged to keep moving forward with our lives, to continue creating the future, to keep living into hope, to carry on walking our own sacred journeys with the Holy continuing to work in us. We continue creating the future because that's exactly what these saints want us to do. We celebrate those we love this morning. We celebrate those we love whom we call to mind and sense within our beings upon every remembrance of them. Because these saints have been a part of our lives, we are able to continue becoming the people we are to be, standing on their shoulders, building upon all that they have done, moving the agenda forward a little bit further because they have touched us and we have grown into allowing ourselves to be more open to the God who has begun good work in us and among us, opening ourselves to the God who continues working in us and among us always. Thanks be to God for the saints, all of the saints, past and present, this amazing cloud of witnesses who surround us always.